Hello everyone, I'm Sydney Pratte from the University of Calgary, and I'm going to present our work on Evoking Empathy, a framework for describing empathy tools, by me and my supervisors Dr. Tony Tang and Dr. Lora Oehlberg. Our work provides a descriptive framework that captures and describes the broad space of empathy tool designs into a single vocabulary. I will begin with a brief description of what empathy tools are and provide examples to motivate our work. Then I will provide a brief teaser of our framework to give you a sense of what we developed. Empathy tools are physical or digital artifacts that are designed to help people understand the lived experiences of others. Empathy tools were first used by product designers as a technique for designers to gain insights into the challenges faced by their end users. In this example from IDEO, the gloves here are used to simulate reduced dexterity and tactile sensations during product testing where they pressed buttons. However, these tools appear in many different forms, and we as designers do not have a common vocabulary to label, describe, organize, and discuss the wide range of empathy tools that HCI researchers have produced. This means that each empathy tool created exists as a point solution or case study. Consequently, designers are unable to learn from previous solutions, what worked, what didn't, and are effectively creating empathy tools anew each time. They aren't able to leverage lessons learned from prior work and are potentially making the same mistakes. Our work aims to address this gap with a descriptive framework that captures these instance examples into a single vocabulary. In order to create this framework, we constructed a corpus of 26 papers reporting on empathy tools by searching the ACM digital library for papers that included the term empathy. We focused on works that were published in an HCI context and aimed to create empathy for other humans. We used an open coding process to create categories describing the various artifacts. These categories were refined through successive passes, and then we performed axial and selective coding to distill a spectrum of design strategies. The final corpus of 26 papers was not intended to be an exhaustive list, but to represent a range of examples showing the diversity of empathy tools. While the goal of all these tools is to evoke empathy in the user, from our analysis we discovered two different ways of categorizing empathy tools. First, the target audience of the tool, designers, caregivers, and the public, and second, the techniques utilized by the tools, agency, sensation, and perspective. First, I will discuss the different target audiences. As stated earlier, empathy tools were first used by product designers to better understand the challenges faced by their end users. In this second example, the Agnes suit was designed for designers to better understand the physical challenges associated with aging. The Agnes suit simulates the approximate motor, visual, flexibility, dexterity, and strength of a person in their mid-70s. Secondly, empathy tools designed for caregivers focus on providing insights into the experience of a reference population. Here, the goal of the tool is to create better care and understanding of patients instead of creating more inclusive designs. The ACES project, for example, is an instant messaging application that emulates the effects of the language disorder aphasia by distorting the typed text from the user. The tool illustrates the challenges of living with aphasia and was designed to serve as a training tool for physicians, nurses, and speech-language pathologists. Empathy tools for the public are designed with the intention to shed light on the plight of the disadvantaged, marginalized, and otherwise underrepresented populations. Here, the goal of the tool is to promote awareness and pro-social behaviors. For example, the mixed reality game A Breathtaking Journey aims to create awareness for the struggles of refugees fleeing from their home countries. In a first-person virtual reality experience, the user sits in the back of an orange truck that is used to smuggle them out of the country. As you can see in this image, the user is physically sitting in a motorized box to stimulate the truck and actual falling oranges. Even smell is used here to stimulate olfactory senses. The stated purpose of this game is solely to bring awareness and to evoke empathy for refugees. Next, I will discuss the different techniques utilized by the tools in our corpus. Based on our analysis, tools will select a primary design strategy and then supplement the primary strategy with others to a lesser extent. We observed design strategies grouped into three major dimensions. 1, the amount of agency the tools allow. 2, the type of sensations that are experienced, and 3, the user's perspective while using the tool. I will discuss each of these design strategies and provide a few brief examples. First, the amount of agency the tools allow. The goal of tools utilizing agency is to evoke empathy in the user, either by giving them the freedom to explore the experience created by the tool or strategically limiting agency for a desired effect. Agency can be effected in 2 different methods. First, interaction agency, which refers to the amount of freedom the user has in any interaction with the tool and surrounding elements that can be manipulated during the tool experience. And 2, narrative agency, which is the amount of choice the user has in controlling the experience with the empathy tool. The WearX project is an example of interactive agency, particularly navigational agency. This project is a wearable garment that simulates the effects of chronic knee pain. Here the user is allowed to move freely in the space, and by having the agency to walk, sit, jump, and freely move, the user gains a better understanding of how knee pain affects what would otherwise be normal movement. An example of narrative agency, particularly open-ended narrative agency, is the Dyslex Experience Project, which is a book using projection mapping to simulate different variations of dyslexia. The user can follow the book in a guided experience, and they are free to explore it in whatever manner they wish. How they look through the book does not affect the overall experience. The second dimension consists of the type of sensations that are experienced. Sensation refers to the creation, generation, or limitation of sensorial input to the user from the empathy tool. Sensation can be affected through mobility limitations, which physically restrict the user's movements, perceptual augmentation or limitation, which alters the user's senses, or physiological, which affects the user's biosignals in the body. The Breeze project is an example of an empathy tool that utilizes physiological sensations to evoke empathy. In this work, the authors create a pendant that measures breathing patterns and sends biofeedback to another user. The idea is to evoke empathy for another's emotional state and create a sense of connectedness over a distance. The mixed reality game, the Alzheimer's Eye Challenge, is an example of an empathy tool that uses perceptual limitations and augmentations to evoke empathy. In the game, the user completes tasks while experiencing visual filters in real time that simulate common aging visual conditions such as macular degeneration. Finally, the third dimension is the user's perspective while using the tool. For instance, is the user a member of the reference population, or do they observe an interaction involving the reference population? Perspective refers to how the user views the experience created by the empathy tool. Perspective can be in either first, second, or third person point of view, or multiple. The WearMasha project uses first-person perspective to simulate the effects of a migraine by using elastic straps and styrofoam balls in the headpiece to create tension and pressure. Here, the user experiences the effects of another's migraine symptoms while remaining in their own body, as if they were the reference population. The Injustice project uses second-person perspective in a live-action virtual reality experience. Here, the user plays through the scenario as themselves, but interact with a member of the reference population. The user witnesses the game character in an unjust experience and is an active participant in the scenario through their choices. As you can see through these examples, we can now begin to group empathy tools in a meaningful way and compare and contrast them. While the relationship between these two methods of categorizing empathy tools is not one-to-one, we observed 3 trends between them. Empathy tools for designers tended to rely on sensation design strategies. Empathy tools for caregivers tended to rely on perspective design strategies, while empathy tools for the public relied equally on agency and perspective. In this work, we contribute a descriptive framework that captures these instance examples into a single vocabulary. Based on our findings, we provide recommendations for designers of empathy tools, including how to assess and measure empathy. This will allow others to compare, contrast, and build off others' approaches with empathy tools in the future. Thank you for listening. For more information, please see our paper, Evoking Empathy, a framework for describing empathy tools.